Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. And we are still dealing with Python. And today we'll be looking at the conditional statement, which include the if statement, if else, while loop, and for loop. So we have just three conditional statements, which is if, while, and for. But under if, we have if else, and we have if, elif, else. So we are going to look at everything today, and we'll proceed to the next page of our, our tutorial. So let's take a look at the if statement. And mind you, when you are working with the conditional statement works with the following logical conditional assignment or operators, such as equals, such as not equals, such as greater than, less than, greater than equals to, greater than equals to, less than equals to, and also works with I think that's all. Yeah. So these are the conditions we use mostly when we are dealing with our loops. So let's quickly look at how to make use of this if statement. We are going to declare two variables. I'm using alphabet for my variables, and that will be a equals to 33 and b equals to 200. And then we want to compare if a is greater than b, and we are going to compare if A is less than B. At the same time, we will compare if, you can see that in my statement I keep on saying if, if, because we are dealing with if statement. So we're going to compare if A is greater than or equals to B, if A is less than or equals to B, if A is not equals to B, and if A is equal to B. Let's quickly try each of these variables one after the other. Let me comment those things we want to do. We want to do the equal sign, we want to do the not equals, greater than, less than, we want to do the greater than equals to, less than equals to. Okay, I think those are what we want to do. So we are going to try this in the if statement. So now we have our a variables to be 33, our b variables to be 200, and don't forget, when you are dealing with your conditional statement, you need to remember that you have to put in mind your indentation, because the block of code require you to indent it, and I wouldn't want you to make that mistake when you are writing your code, or else you will keep on having errors when you're about to run your program. So we have if A is equals to B, what do we want it to say? Let it say A is equals to B. Then we indent print. That is what we want it to say. A, put it in a string, then you say A is equal to B. Press the enter key and let's look at the output. Okay, I think something is. Oh, because I didn't put the else statement. Okay, that's why it's not giving us the output. So okay. Let's try the other way around. If A is not alright equals to B, then print A is not equals to B. So we have our response. Can you see that? So the reason why we didn't have response the other time was that the condition was not met. And since the condition was not met, we are not going to have a response, because there is no condition, there is no else statement in the statement. So that's why it's not giving us an output. But the second one that says A is not equals to B give us an output, which is A is not equals to B. So let's look at the other method. If A is greater than B, this one too will not give us an output because A is not greater than B. You get it? So we will need an else statement here, and we don't want to go to else statement now. We just want to try it with the if only. So we are not going to use the greater than, rather we will use the less than. If A is less than B, put an index, then print A is less than B. Oh, I wrote B. Can you imagine? It's less than B. Okay, we have our output. Then less than equals to is the next one we're going to do. So we have if A is less than equals to B, let's indent, and we have this A is not, A is less than or equal to B. That is what that statement means. So can you see now we have our output? Then when we now say the one for greater than, we are going to say b if b is greater than A. Yeah, this is where we can have our response here for the greater than. Then we have print b is greater than A. So we have this. Then if b is greater than equals to A, print what? Indent. Then we have print b is greater than or equals to A. And we have our response. So that is how we confirm our operators or our logical operators in the conditional statement. Then for us to use the equal sign, now I will equate B with a variable, or let me just, I won't create a variable, rather I will just put the string. So let's say if B is equals to 200, print B is equal to B is equal to 200, or B is 200. Yeah, can you see that? So that is how to use the equal sign, all the symbols that we want to use for if. Now we can now go ahead with our if else. We can now go ahead with our if else before we look at elif as another function. So in that case, we are going to quickly look at the else statement. Now, for the first one that I did was A equals to B. So if A is equals to B, we say that we should print A is equal to B. Then the next thing is you put your else statement. Remember, the else has to be below the if. So for you to know, you don't have to put any condition in front of else. Just put else, then you go down and put your statement, what you want the code to do if if the condition you specify is not available or is available. So This is how to write your else statement. Then you put your indent again and say print A is less than B. So if I press enter key now and I press again, I'm going to have the output coming from the else statement. So you can see A is less than B because A is truly less than B. That is how to use the condition for that. Then we can also do that for all other ones with else statement. If A is greater than B, else A is this. So you can change the symbol here anyhow you want. Then also we can use the elif. We can use the elif. Elif is used when you have about 3, 4 or more conditions. Remember, we use if only if we have one condition to pass. But if we have two conditions to pass, we use if and else. If you have three conditions to pass, you use if, elif, and then and else. That is what we use to pass three or more conditions. So when you have more conditions, elif will keep on going elif, 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 elif till you get to the last condition that will be placed on that will be placed at that will be placed at the else block. So in that case, let's quickly look at how to use this. We have the variables already. We have the variables already such as um let's say now we have our variables as 33 and 200. So we can say if A is equals to B, what should we do? Print A is equals to B. Elif A elif B is equals B is greater than A. What do we want to do? We want it to print B is B is greater than we want to print B is greater than B is greater than A. B is greater than A. So also we can now say else. What do we want to do? Should print else should print A is less than B. Alright. So in this case, when we check, you can see it checked through the conditions and found out that B is greater than A. So the first condition was not met. That's why we didn't have the output because A is not equals to B. The second condition was not met because it does not even pass through the second condition. Why? Because B is greater than A. Is that clear now? So, and we are not checking for that. We are checking for A, which is the first statement. So then you move ahead to the next statement. So that is that. Now we can also use that. You can use elif to check grade. You can say A equals 75, B equals 50, C equals 20. Then we can now say if A is equals to 75, print excellent. And if B is equals to 50, print average. Else, and if C equals to 20, print this is below average. Else, print print um else print drop out of the school. So can you see that? Now we have excellent because the first command was passed and it doesn't have time to go to through the other ones. That's why we have this. So we're going to use the logical expressions now. Using the logical expressions such as and, or, else is what we make this one to be justified. Exactly now. Is what we make this to be justified. In that case, we can say if A is greater than 70 as pass mark, okay, sorry, okay, if A is greater than 70, you should print excellent. If A sorry, I made an error. Yeah, let's be clear it that way. So if A is I want to reshuffle the statement. If A is less than 70, is less than 70 or no, don't let me do that. Less than 70, print this is grade B. And if A is greater than 70 or I don't want to use or now. Greater than 70, print this is grade A. Else print this is below the score grade. This is below average. Yeah. So now I'm only putting the variable a only in this condition so that we can test it can pass through every condition and give us the output. So if I press enter, we have this is grade A because it has checked through the first condition, which is A less than 70. You can see that oh, A is not less than 70. It went to the second condition, which is elif. When you get to elif, you said okay, A is greater than 70, then you pass the output and that is all. If it has checked this and discovered that oh, it's not equals to 70, it will go to else and say this is below average. So that's how to use elif. Then uh we can also use our logical operations such as and, or, not, and then we can have a nested loop. So let's quickly look at how to use and. So since we have ABC, we can say using and logical condition. So we say if A is greater than B, can you see? If A is greater, sorry, if B is greater than A, our B is greater than A. If B is greater than A and C and C is greater than and C is less than B. If A is greater than B, A is 75. Yeah. If A is greater than B and C is less than B, what do we want it to do? We want it to that what? This condition is true. The condition is true. Can you see that? So if we look at it, A is greater than B from this scenario and C is less than B. So we have used the AND statement in that. Then using the OR statement, we have what? A is greater than B. We can say if A is greater than B and or A is greater than C, then it should what? It should print this condition is true. Or we should say it should print at least one of these condition is true. At least one of these condition is true. So can you see that? Because one will be true if A is greater than B or A is less than B, one should be true. One should be true. Then we can also use not. We can use not. So we can say if A is not equals to B or A not, if not A greater than B, what will happen? If not C greater than b, print yes we are. Let's see what's going on. Can you see that? So C is not greater than B. So automatically the condition will be passed. So let's quickly look at nested if. Nested if is a if that has another if in it. So when you have a nested if we have another if in it. Let's try that. Let's say x is equals to 45. Now we want to do that. Say if x is greater than 10, what should we do? Should print what? Should print above 10. Then if x is greater than 20, what should we do? We should print and also above 20. Else, can see where my else is. We should print what? Should print but not above 20. Now this statement, what it's trying to say is that we have an if statement inside an if statement. So which means if statement is inside if statement. So the first condition, if the first condition is met, it will print above 10. But if the first condition is not met, it will go to the inner statement to check for the condition. If this condition is met, it will print and also above 20. But if it is not met, it will go to else statement to print but not above 20. Now you can add else statement to the first if, you are right, and you might leave it this way, you are also right. Depends on your own discretion. Can you see now? So the first condition print above 10 and also above 20. Exactly, now because our x is greater than 10, our x is 45. So it will print above 10, above 20. So if we changes our x now to 5, it will go straight to this else statement but not above 20. So that is a nested if statement inside an if. Then another word we are going to look at is the pass statement. The pass statement is used when you have no condition, you have no information to print after the condition is passed. You have nothing to do. You just want to check for something and you say okay, you've checked that thing, then you want to continue without anything, you can use pass. So what do? We say what? If x is greater than 40 and if x is less than 10 or x greater than 10, what do you want to do? I think we're supposed to do something, right? But we don't have any statement to do. So we can just say pass and press enter. So it has checked the condition and it will pass automatically. Dis is mostly used wen you have some information to pass, and wen you don't have information to pass, you just want to check the stuff and you want your program to continue without passing out any information. You can just do dat, den it will check, pass and continue with other informations he has at hand. So dat is dat on if statement. Thank you. We continue on for loop in our next class.